Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I want to talk about the death of Bob Saget. On January 9th, he was found in his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando. He'd done a bunch of stand-up work, and his family hadn't heard from him on that day, so they called him, couldn't get hold of him, so they asked security to check to see if everything was okay. So on January 9th, they went into his room and found him unresponsive and rather cold in his bed, and they called the police. After that, the coroner did his examination and determined that he had not died of what looked like originally maybe had a heart attack or something else, maybe sleep apnea, who knows, had died naturally in bed without any kind of prior incident. But then they found out he had fractures to the skull and a brain bleed. So then they determined, along with the police who had examined the room, that it was an accident. Now, before I continue in my analysis to get rid of all these conspiracy theories that I see rolling around the internet and being provoked by some pretty irresponsible statements, I would like to say, if you haven't been to my channel before and you like what you see, please do subscribe. And there's many other cases you can find in my case list and in my playlists. And also just like this video. And let me go forth now in what I want to talk about, which is what really did happen to Bob Saget. Was there something more suspicious than an accidental death? All right, so let's take a look at where this happened, okay? He was at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, which is this hotel here. All right, quite a lovely hotel. And this is going to play into some of what I want to talk about in a minute. And this will be similar to a room he has in the hotel. This is from their website. So the police came and did not find anything suspicious in this room. They found him in the bed. Nothing was disturbed. His items were laid out nicely as if he had been, just doing his normal thing after he finished his evening performance, came back, and it didn't appear anybody else had been in the room. And this is very important. The room was locked. The security let themselves in. I will say I did not hear about them having any trouble getting in, so there didn't seem to be any chain lock or bolt on the door from the inside. So in theory, somebody's going to say, but somebody could have done something to him and then just slipped out of the room. Okay, I'll go with that. That could happen. But let's see if it did happen. Let's go to exactly what was the injury, okay? And then I'll talk about what the experts have said that I believe are spreading these conspiracy theories across the internet. All right, so this is his head injury. He had, if you see what that big huge star is, that's called a linear fracture of the base of the skull. So either he whacked his head there on something hard, or he got whacked there with something hard. All the little dots are pretty much, most of it's bleeding, but there is a part where the eyes are, where it will say there are some fractures to the eye area. Okay? And this is what also fuels the concept that somebody attacked him, because not only does he have seeming fractures here, but some fractures here. Okay, now let's look at some of the experts and what they have to say. Now, all right. So let's look at what Dr. Gupta has to say on CNN. And I find sometimes he seems to just want to promote whatever CNN's agenda is, which is get viewers, get more ratings, so I don't particularly like sometimes the way he states things without explaining clearly. So he says, since there are bones in Saget's head that were cited as being fractured, including a stretch of bone from the front of his skull to the front temporal bone, in addition to fractures above his eye sockets. So, the back and the front. He says, that takes a lot of force to do that. If I knew nothing else about what had happened, you'd think this was someone who had fallen down the stairs and had several impacts to the head. So he's somebody tumbling down some stairs, or he'd been unrestrained in a car accident. All right. Let's think about this for a second. Clearly, he didn't stumble down any stairs because he was in his room. Secondly, he wasn't in a car accident. So I'm not sure Dr. Gupta, why these are your only explanations for the damage to him, because neither of these could have happened. All right, now let's look at this other guy. Oh Lord, this is where I think the rumors really started. So Dr. Gavin Britz, this is the second from last paragraph on this page here. This is significant trauma, said Dr. Gavin Britz, the chair in neurosurgery at Houston Methodist Hospital. This is what he told the New York Times, who also likes to have agendas and have some exciting stuff in their news, as opposed to let's focus on absolute truth and let's let you explain it long enough so it makes sense to everybody and they don't jump to conclusions. All right, so what does Britz say? This is something I find with someone with a baseball bat to the head or who has fallen from 20 to 30 feet. Okay, so let's look at Dr. Britz's concept that he's either fallen 20 to 30 feet. So either, let's see, he could have fallen from the rooftop and somebody pushed him off and then somebody carried him back up to the room. Oh no, or he could have been pushed off the balcony and then somebody carried him back up to the room, through the reception into the elevator. Famous, Saget in his arms and taking his body back to the room. Okay, so we know this didn't happen. It's nonsense. He couldn't have fallen from any great height. So that's, again, yes, maybe you see those injuries in a person who has fallen from a great height, but it couldn't have happened. Okay, so let's go to the last one. Being hit with a baseball bat. Okay, so could he have been hit with a baseball bat? All right, let's say he finished his show and he's coming back to his room. Could he have had somebody follow him into the room and try to rob him? And the guy hit him in the back of the head with a baseball bat. I guess that could have happened. How about there's going to be new conspiracy theories that he met someone, male or female, and brought them back to his room. And that's why his family doesn't want anybody to know about what actually happened. That's why they're trying to stop the information from getting out. Not that they don't want pictures of their naked loved one in bed or on the autopsy table, but they're hiding something. Okay, so he brought someone back. Now, mind you, they never said anything about him being, Bob Saget being found in bed with regular street clothes on, which would be kind of unusual, because then you wouldn't, why would he have gotten in bed with street clothes on? He's obviously in bed either with night clothes or he's naked. Okay, so somebody's going to say, well, see, he brought somebody back with him and they were going to do something and something went wrong and the person attacked him. With what? Look around this room. Do you see a whole lot of heavy objects in this room to attack somebody with? So did the guy bring his own baseball bat? Maybe a golf club. No, maybe a golf club. And then if, think about this. Let's say there was an altercation. Of course, we see nothing. It was pristine, according to the police. We see no altercation. There's no defense wounds. There's no other damage to his body. So this guy just hit him in the back of the head, whoever this was, or maybe even hit him here because they're saying there's fractures in both areas. And I will explain that to you. And then, so now Bob Saget is lying on the floor. He's not dead because he didn't die for a while because he had a brain bleed. So now you've attacked Bob. So what is your next step? Well, if you're afraid he's going to identify you, you finish beating him up. You finish whacking him until he's dead. But I don't think what you do is say, oh, he's not dead, but let me just pick him up and put him in the bed and snuggle him in there so that he can then tell the police, guess who did this to me? When he survives, because the attacker would have no idea he was going to die from the one hit if he was still breathing. So you either finish him off, or it never happened. So now what did happen? Well, let's look at what a more rational person says. Okay. This is Dr. Roshini Raj, who is from NYU. Okay. This report shows that the skull and brain suffered trauma, which led to skull fractures, bruising of the brain, and actual bleeding in the space around the brain. This blood can compress the brain and cause death. The coroner determined that this trauma was most likely caused by an accidental fall backwards. Okay, let me show you where I think the accidental fall backwards occurred. Okay. This is where it most likely occurred. What is that? Every hotel has one. It's called the bathroom. Where do so many accidents happen, especially older people? Bathrooms. Saget was 65 years old. And he was also 6'4", which makes him a very tall person, like a tree crashing. Yeah. Big guy, hard fall. Okay, let's look at what else they said. All right. Most likely caused by an accidental fall backwards. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot to take this off of here for a second here. Okay, so I think I forgot to remove that so I could show you. Okay, this is the bathroom in the hotel that he most likely fell in a fall backwards, like this, crack. See that? Crack. Okay, so let's see what else he said. Speaking about the fracture around Saget's eyes, Raj said, the head hits something hard and the skull fractures in different places, including the orbits. That's the part of the skull around the eyes. It's kind of like an egg. And that causes bleeding, which compresses the brain. All right, so he didn't necessarily have to be hit here and here. He just had to be hit one time. And look at this bathroom. It's a fairly large bathroom. It has a very marble-like, the website actually says it's marble. So the sinks are this marble, very hard edge. It's not like formica. It's marble. The floor, likewise. So it's not a soft floor. It doesn't have a carpet like Motel 6. It's the type of floor which, if you fall on, you could hurt yourself. And this, if you head wax it, you're going to hurt yourself. So if he's a tall guy coming out of the shower and he slips and he falls, his whole body comes flailing back really quickly. Because when you slip, you have a huge amount of pressure that's going this way. It's not like you're just collapsing. Your body is crashing. So he's crashing his head right on that spot right there. And then he hits the floor. And then he's like, oh my God. He might have been stunned. He might have been out for a speck. And then he recovered and got up enough to say, wow, that hurt like hell. And he went to his bed and got in it. Probably straight from the shower. Maybe he dried a little bit. Maybe he put on night clothes. I don't know. But got into his bed and laid down and said, let me see how I feel. Now, some people will say, why didn't he just go straight to the emergency room? Call 911. Well, I have an experience very similar in that I woke up one morning with a severe cramp in my calf, severe cramp. So I went to the kitchen to grab some water in a bottle. And I grabbed it, and as I was walking out of the kitchen and opened the bottle, I knew, all of a sudden, I knew I was going down. So I call it syncope or fainting. So I knew it, and I said, oh, that's it. And the next thing I knew, I was lying on the floor on my back, water pooling around my head, and I had a big lump on my head because I hit a sideboard on the way down. Now, I did not call 911. I got up and said, oh, let me see if I'm okay. And I thought I was. So I relaxed for a little bit. I didn't go back to bed because it was, I was already up for the day. I relaxed for a little bit and I felt okay. Should I have gone to the hospital? Maybe to see if I'd done severe damage to myself, whether I'd given myself a concussion, but I didn't. And Bob Saget probably thought once he got up, I'm probably okay. And he laid back down. And since it was night and he was ready to go to sleep anyway, it's very easy to drift off to sleep and then have the brain bleed and not wake up again. So that's what can happen. And that's what I think did happen. I think we ought to stop with all these conspiracy theories. I think it's all nonsense. And I think it's very sad because I'm going to guess from now on, we're going to see YouTube after YouTube after YouTube, sometimes 10 different videos on one YouTube channel, all discussing all the things that really happened to Bob Saget, who really killed Bob Saget. It's going to get a lot of views. It's going to get people are going to make money off of it, but it's not based on evidence. And it's really sad that the experts went out on very well-known media, the mass media, and gave information that was easily distorted. And so I appreciate the Dr. Raj, who was rational and put that information out, but I'm going to guess it's going to be overwhelmed by all the other stuff that's going to be proliferating, can't talk today, proliferating across the internet. So anyway, that's my analysis of the case. I hope you got something out of it. And again, please do like and subscribe to the channel and come back for my analyses of other cases. And I'm glad you were here. See you next time.